Hi everyone, I'm Kash Mehdi, Data Governance and Privacy Segment Leader for Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. I welcome you all to Informatica Day 2021. Thanks so much for taking the time. The topic for today is data democratization. How organizations are leveraging data democratization to drive innovation, business activities, and also to meet business outcomes, whether it's about insights analytics, meeting regulatory compliance, driving data literacy, or even going to the cloud. I'll start out with this quote from our dear customer Nissan, their journey to data democratization. For Nissan, data democratization is at the heart of Nissan's growth strategy. With over 500 terabytes of data in their data lake, Nissan has aggressive plans to democratize data for the analytics community. Now let's look at what's really happening in the industry. Traditionally, what we see is the role of chief data officers is expanding. Previously, we've seen the focus for chief data officers was around risk and compliance, which is very true in the financial services industry or other heavily regulated industries, where regulations continue to drive momentum around data. Now, in the recent times, what has happened is there's a change in the role of chief data officers or even data leaders. Many of these data leaders are measured based on business goals and objectives. Some goals could include driving revenue growth, monetary impact for the organization. It could also mean cost reduction or market reputation, expansion, and other things. Even business objectives, this is an area where we see many data leaders focus around product innovation, service innovation, and other types of offerings. Customer experience is top of mind for many data leaders. Even attaining operational efficiency when going about performing business activities, creating reports, or going after analytics needs, or forecasting, reporting, driving campaigns, and a lot of other business activities. 80% of the KPIs used to measure the success of chief data officers is business oriented. Now let's look at what's really driving the market. When it comes to data governance, cataloging, and privacy, we see several areas why companies are going after these initiatives. The first one is insights analytics. This is true for many industries worldwide. This is an area where we see companies focus around the self-service aspect for data, enabling data analysts, data scientists, creating reports, performing predictive analytics, and other business activities. This continues to be a big driver for our space and many data leaders. Second is regulatory compliance. As I've talked to you about how risk and compliance was a major focus for organizations, we see regulations continue to drive the focus for many data leaders. Like with the surge in regulations like GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, which is out of Europe. We also see new versions of these regulations like the data transfer laws across Europe. Over in the United States, you see CCPA and all other countries coming out with their own types of regulations. We see this is true across financial services, healthcare, insurance, which is typically a heavily regulated market. The third item is business enablement. I look at this as data literacy. In our experience, over the years, many companies experience every 12 to 18 months, the volume of data almost doubles. This is an area where Informatica can help break the data silos, help companies understand the patterns around data so you could better understand your customer experience, product experience, and other service offerings. And lastly, digital transformation. Especially post-COVID, we see more and more companies are lifting and shifting data to the cloud. In this journey, data governance, cataloging, and privacy is top of mind. I use a simple analogy like the toll gate. Similar to a highway system where you drive a car on the road, you pay the toll, and you pass that road. So you could create a toll gate for your data. So the idea is before you pass your data through this toll gate and go to the cloud, making sure data has appropriate definition, ownership, data quality, traceability, and other elements when it comes to these initiatives. In the next one, I wanted to talk to you about the landscape around data governance, cataloging, and privacy. Now, being a technology vendor, Informatica is at the very interesting seat. So our role here is to really facilitate collaboration between the business communities and the technology communities. Now, what's interesting is anytime we're across a data leader or we walk into a meeting, we hear different perspectives when asked, how does a particular group defines data governance, cataloging, and privacy. So for example, when we ask the business community, hey, how do you describe these initiatives? The common answer is, hey, we're looking to attain commonality around data so people can easily understand and trust the data we have. And business is typically motivated to do this to drive any of the business initiatives like the risk and compliance, analytics, driving customer experience, and all kinds of initiatives. On the technology side, the answer is slightly different. For them, it's really about consolidating data that's spread in multiple systems and applications and creating a catalog of catalog for centralized reporting, consumability, and other business needs. And we understand on each side, we have different personas. At Informatica, we're spending over $200 million annually to ensure our products are fit for purpose for our users, our community of customers. And on each side, you might see different personas. On the business side, you have analysts, data scientists, even privacy officers have a seat at the table, data governance managers. So there's a personalized and seamless experience that's inbuilt in our intelligent platform. On the technology side, you might have database admins, data architects, and other types of users who are heavily technical. So again, in summary, the role here is from Informatica to really facilitate collaboration between the business and technology groups. Now, let's deep dive into data democratization. What does that really mean? A simple definition, data democratization, it's really about making data freely available while ensuring standards for quality and privacy. This is something many data leaders are using to drive a data-driven cultural change to go after those business outcomes, the KPIs they get measured on. But in an ideal data democratization environment, we see there are many benefits. It's really about the self-service access while maintaining standards. It could mean executives, when they look at a report, they are able to trust the KPIs and metrics that are in front of them. It could also mean data science teams, when they go about building models that would predict customer experience, that would help them personalize experiences or provide better offerings. It means they have access to data. It means that they don't spend a lot of time searching for data. And we typically hear, many of these users or data consumers, they spend 80% of the time trying to find the data that's relevant, and which leads to frustrations as well, because a lot of the data that's found, it's not trustworthy. So data democratization, it's really about creating that trusted source for your community. It could mean for your finance communities, appropriate data for financial planning and analysis. It could also mean for the marketing teams, getting the relevant data about customers to personalize campaigns and other things. Now, how are we delivering all of this? At Informatica, we have one platform, and it comprises of many set of capabilities focusing on the business needs as well as the technology needs. Today, I'm going to be focusing around our data governance, cataloging, and privacy segment. So in regards to this segment, we have focused products. At the forefront, you have Axon, which is our data governance front end. This is a front end for the business community to really answer questions around data. What does that mean? It's really about understanding, what does my data mean? Where does it come from? If I have any questions, who can I reach out to? It also provides an online shopping experience around data. Enabling Axon, we have the data catalog of catalog. It can procure data from a number of sources, systems, and applications, whether cloud, on-prem, structured, unstructured. A catalog can really help complement your existing data ecosystems and also bring forward the data that's stuck in black box data silos, lacking appropriate business context, usability, and trust. The third one is data quality. So for many data leaders, if delivering clean and trusted data is top of mind, our Informatica data quality is something that can help you clean the data, monitor, remediate any of the challenges in order to gain trust. And lastly, data privacy management. So this is a component that addresses needs around privacy. For example, one of the popular use cases with our community is data subject access requests, which is really about when you have customers reaching back out to you saying, hey, I want my data to be forgotten. I want my data to be deleted. This is an area where Informatica can help identify what data you're storing about your customers and give you the agility to respond to such requests. Gartner even talks about this. Companies on average spend $1,400 to respond to these DSAR requests. Why? Because it takes a lot of time and effort searching for data. It also takes a lot of time and effort responding to the customers. This is an area where Informatica can give you the agility to respond and handle any of these data subject access requests. Now, this brings me to one of our key components of the platform when it comes to data democratization and creating that culture of change. We have a key component called data marketplace. Think about data marketplace as an online shopping experience around data. This could be a formalized process between data owners and data consumers to collaborate on their daily data needs. There are really 5 highlights when it comes to data marketplace. First one is create. Data governance teams, data ops teams can collaborate and create clean and governed data in the marketplace. You could literally organize your data in terms of data domains, business lines, projects, or however you like. There's a lot of flexibility depending on how you think about your data, how you structure it. Data marketplace can provide you a front end to create several categories around data. Second, a shop. Users like data analysts, data scientists, or any daily consumers have the ability to shop for data. They get self-service data that's out there that can be used in projects, reports, or any business activities. And during this shopping experience, we're exposing quality metrics. So users, when they look at the data set, they could see if it's of 90% quality versus 40% qualities in order to gain trust. And even we're exposing privacy artifacts. So when I request access, I could see if this data is in compliance with GDPR, CCPA, or any types of regulations. Third one, there's literally a checkout button. Similar to how you would shop online, you could click the checkout button to initiate a formal data sharing process. You could request access and notify the data owners and fill out the forms with details why you're requesting this particular data set. For track orders, you also have the ability to see who's using what data for what purposes in the enterprise. And lastly, fulfillment. Once your request gets approved, you could do 2 things. One is we could integrate with existing provisioning processes that you may have. Sometimes we see customers use applications like ServiceNow. We provide out-of-the-box integration with ServiceNow. Or you could use Informatica's native data catalog or cloud integration service to deliver data to appropriate locations. You could say, hey, I want this data to be in Tableau Server, Snowflake, Azure, or AWS. We have the ability to deliver data to those locations. With that, why don't I show you a quick view into our data marketplace component, which can really help address how data leaders can use this as a quick win to democratize data, to create that self-service capability, and drive a culture of change around data, and focus around innovation. Stay tuned. Let's get started. I'm going to start out with the data marketplace front end. So let's imagine you are someone, David Johnson, who is a data analyst. You're looking to get some data around a report. Maybe let's say you want to create a report around customers. Let me show you how a customer might find this helpful. So I'm David Johnson. I come into my office. I look at this marketplace, which helps me understand what data do we have available in the shop, what I can request access to today. So I could either drill into the customer category, which groups data about customers, or I could simply click on the search. I could even look at what's most popular this month. Almost think about this experience when you walk into a store. What do you see? You see different aisles. You look at different aisles and then you decide like, oh, I'm here in the store to buy an electronic equipment or maybe get some vegetables or what have you, right? So think about that the same way, right? So I pick one of the aisles, or even I could look at the search. So what that does is brings me to a keyword. This is where I could start shopping. So I walked into the aisle. Now I could start searching what I'm looking for. So in this case, David is an analyst. And maybe let's say David is looking for customer data. So I could simply type in customer information. Here I could see the list of results matching my search. Or let's say I want to narrow down the search by a specific category. So I could say, maybe I want customer data that's part of not just everything around customer, but maybe around operations. Or you could say, hey, I need data that is 4 ratings and above. Or you could even say, hey, I know a person in so-and-so department, and I want to get requests from that person. So maybe I could type in John, who I know in maybe analytics department, right? Or I could say, what data do we have in local warehouse? So I could simply search for a local warehouse. Or even I could go by a glossary itself. Maybe I want to look for data that has specific metrics that I'm looking for, like customer success ratio. So let me get more specific. Instead of customer, maybe I want to get customer contact information. So I could simply type in, search for that. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill into the customer contact details. So this is where what I'm doing is I walked into an aisle, I picked up a product, I'm going to start reading the ingredients of that product with that same analogy. So here you're looking at the purpose of this customer contact data set, which is nothing but a collection of similar metadata, everything that the contact information should contain. Here you can see these are different owners who have put in the purpose for customer contact. I could also look at the quality breakdown at the macro level. So everything that's contained in here, what is the overall quality, which is 90%. So when people are shopping for data, we want to build trust. This is an area where data quality comes into picture. So this is where we could also highlight how we are providing out-of-the-box integration with Informatica data quality, because a lot of these results can come in from Informatica data quality, or even customers can bulk ingest these results if they have their own solution. So we're not there to rip and replace the work they have done, but to really complement, but bring it in a more user-friendly environment. And here what I could also see is I could look at all the details, what's contained within this data set itself. So here I could see when I request access for it, I could get access to name, address, zip code, and other details. And let's say if I have any questions, I can also introspect at the micro level. So here, I want to look at, hey, why is the name at 89%? So here I'm looking at, because completeness is failing at 78% or consistency at 68%. So you're looking at those details. So in the shopping experience, as you can see, I'm building trust. I could also try to understand, where am I going to get access to this data? So as a data analyst, I want this data on Tableau server. So this is where your story comes into play, where how does Informatica delivers data to appropriate locations? So here you can see I have a number of options as the consumer. I could say, hey, I want this on Tableau server, on Snowflake, or AWS S3, what have you. So as the owner, you could set up all these different delivery mechanisms. So someone on the data ops side would find this really helpful. The other piece is, as users shop for data and self-service data, what that brings to the table is also significant risk, because there's a lot of data that's getting exposed. So this is where the regulations come into play. So in my shopping experience, I'm also looking at what policies and standards are linked to my data set. So, and then I could also see other policies like the retention schedule, where some regulations talk about maybe you can only retain this data for 3 years only, right? You could also look at a GDPR policy if you have if you're part of US, maybe you're going through a CCPA regulation. So you're looking at all those details. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, David got in, looking for customer data and wants to create a report, and everything checks out from a privacy standpoint, from a quality standpoint, and even the ratings are 4 ratings and above. So I like it. Let's say I want to request access to this data. So I can simply go in and check out. And here I could say, hey, I need this data from for some clinical trial or some customer campaign. I could even say, hey, do you have other formats? Or even you have integration with ticketing systems like ServiceNow. So a couple of things could happen. As soon as I submit my request, we could either create a ticket in ServiceNow, or using our Informatica's enterprise data catalog, we also have the provisioning capability. So let's say I fast forward, I fill in all the details, and I say, hey, I agree with the usage guideline, and I submit the order. What that does is it creates a data sharing agreement between the owners of this data and myself, who is David Johnson. So in this story, what we just saw is how I can self-service and democratize data, how governance teams can make this data freely available.